Welcome to another edition of Our City. The City of Elizabeth and the County of Union still have plenty of vaccines. Residents can visit ucnjvaccine.org or the City of Elizabeth website. You can go to our social media sites for any information. We should still continue to get vaccinated, follow social distance rules if you're in group settings, wear a face mask or a covering if you cannot socially distance. And if you need any more information concerning any events, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. So for this week's show, I'm pleased to be joined by a graduate of Thomas Jefferson High School, Mr. Drew Esikoff, who is an award-winning sports director for NBC and has just come off directing the Super Bowl 56 between the Rams and the Bengals. So Drew, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Mayor. Pleasure.
And you were just telling me, Drew, that you graduated with Darren Bryden, who works for us here in the Public Information Office.
I graduated with Darren's brother, Chuck.
Okay.
And Chuck's wife, Patty, was going to Baton at the same time. So we graduated in 1975.
Are you allowed to say that year, Drew? It's so far back.
I say it because today I can remember it. Tomorrow might be a different story.
So tell us about yourself, Drew. You grew up here in the city of Elizabeth, and you live out of state. You wanted to come here today to do the show in person, but the weather is not cooperative.
The weather did not cooperate. It's still pretty nasty up here in Connecticut. Yeah, I lived basically my whole life in Elizabeth. When I was born at Elizabeth General, I think we lived at the garden apartment complex above the pond at Warrenanko Park till I was 2. And then we moved to Pierce Manor. And then we moved to West Jersey Street, Chilton Towers. And I lived there even after college, lived there until I went up to ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut in 1983.
So Drew, you graduated from Thomas Jefferson. Was it all boys back then?
It was. As far as I know, it was one of the last all-boys public high schools left in the country. Boys High in Brooklyn became Boys and Girls High School. And then I think a few years later, Jefferson and Baton, were joined at the new Elizabeth High School building.
And you were still here, though, and you witnessed that you were still in Elizabeth at that time.
I was still in Elizabeth. I actually, to fill in some of my free time, would go back and substitute teach, both during school breaks and then after school. After I graduated college, when I had a free day here and there, I would still substitute teach. And Elizabeth High is the place I got called to go to the most.
So did you think that was going to be your profession early on, Drew?
No. My profession, I always knew I wanted to be in sports broadcasting. Like every other teenager that grew up in our area in the in the late 60s, early 70s, I wanted to be Marv Albert, or I wanted to be Al Michaels, or I wanted to be Brent Musburger or something like that. Then when I got into the business, I think I realized that I enjoyed the production side of it a little bit more than the front of the camera side of it. And, to make a long story short, next January, I think will be the 40th anniversary of my first day at ESPN, which marked my entree into full-time employment into the business.
So, Drew, now you tell those guys what to do, right? Those announcers.
I tell them what to do, and they tell me back that they're not doing it that way. That's the way our business works. But no, it's been a great run, especially the last 16 years on Sunday Night Football with Al. I mean, every time I work with Al, we just finished our 22nd consecutive season together of doing primetime network NFL. So I just pinch myself that, and say to myself, well, if you can't be Al Michaels, the next best thing is to work with Al Michaels. And I would say the same thing if it was Brent or, any of the other announcers that I got to work with for a long time.
So, Drew, tell me about your successes and your struggles at Thomas Jefferson.
You know what? I loved going to school there. I would say because it was an all boys school, there was a certain camaraderie between the students and the teachers. The one teacher I'm going to point out, because he passed away within the last year, was Bob Shapiro. He was a phys ed teacher for a long time. Now, Mr. Shapiro was also my gym teacher at School 23. So he was my gym teacher at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. He took a break while I was at Hamilton, and then he became my phys ed teacher again in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, as well as being my summer boss at the South Plainfield Community Pool, where he and Dave Belford were the managers for a couple summers that I got to work there. And it was just a different kind of relationship. I liked every bit of going to Jeff. I thought it was a great school.
Well, Dave Belford's still here. He's the baseball coach.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Dave Belford is the varsity baseball coach here.
Huh.
Or would that be? Yeah, I guess maybe it's his son.
It could be his son. I don't even know if Mr. Belford, I wouldn't know how old he was at this point or if he's still with us, but it could be his son. For sure could be his son.
Yeah, because the name of the baseball coach is Belford, so that's a small world. And he's younger than us.
Yeah.
So Drew, how did you get to NBC Sunday Night Football? You said you started off at ESPN. How did you wind up on Sunday Night Football?
Well, the beginnings at ESPN have an Elizabeth connection as well. I was working at WJDM in Elizabeth. I'd work at ABC Sports on the weekends. And then Abby West, who was a longtime friend of my parents, knew of a woman up at ESPN who was hiring, young production assistants. He arranged for me to go up there. This was probably right around Christmas time of 1982. So I drive up to Bristol. I meet with everybody up there that they need me to meet with, and they tell me that you have all the qualifications we're looking for, but at this moment, we don't have a job. I get back in my car to drive back from Elizabeth, and a minute after I get home, the phone rings that they have a job available, and I turn around and start a week or two later. So I stay at ESPN from 83 to 90, and then move from ESPN to ABC Sports, which at that time was it was considered a transfer because it was all part of the same corporate hierarchy. I work at ABC Sports for 16 years, the last 6 of which I'm directing Monday Night Football. And then the landscape changes. Monday Night Football goes to ESPN, NBC buys Sunday Night Football, and Dick Ebersol, who was running NBC Sports at that time, brings, not all at once, but piecemeals, bringing all of us over. So Al, John Madden at the time, myself, and our producer, Fred Godelli, all come over to NBC Sports to do Sunday Night Football. John retires after the Super Bowl in Tampa between the Cardinals and the Steelers. Chris takes his place, Chris Collinsworth, and we've been together ever since.
So Drew, you were doing NBA games too at one time?
I did the NBA at ABC, including 3 NBA finals. I believe it's 2004, 5, and 6. Some of that was with Al, some was with Mike Breen. And then back then, my schedule was season to season. I'd go from football to basketball. When I was at ABC Sports, that would take me to the Indy 500 or the Little League World Series. Since I got to NBC, my schedule's sort of been condensed. I'm too old to keep the old schedule. So it's been football and and for the most part, the 3 Triple Crown horse races in the spring.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, what else do you do besides football? When you mentioned the Little League World Series, I don't know if you know this, but in 2019, we had a team from Elizabeth go there.
I do. I remember that. I remember watching the team from Elizabeth. I did the Little League World Series for 8 or 9 years in a row, and I remember the champs one year were the team from Toms River.
Oh, a few years back.
Correct. And so yeah, I love doing that show. Everybody brought their families down. The kids ran wild. Hot dogs were 50 cents. Sodas were 15 cents. And it was a great week for the whole family.
Hey, Drew, if you ever get the chance, there's a documentary on the 2019 Little League team called A City Behind Us. It's on YouTube or one of our channels, but you'd get a kick out of these kids on that documentary. If you have a half an hour, someday. You might want to check it out.
I certainly will.
So Drew, you've also been extremely successful in the award category by winning sports Emmys. Tell us about that process and congratulations, by the way. And how many have you had?
Uh, I I've been a small part of some really good teams. Let's just put it that way. But I think over the years, the teams that I've worked on have collected 19,
Wow.
including many for live sports series for Sunday Night Football, uh, some for the Olympics. You know, the Olympic moment that stands out, obviously, I was fortunate enough to be assigned to the swimming venue in Beijing in 2008 for the Summer Games. And, Dick Ebersol called me aside. He goes, "Would you mind doing swimming at the Olympics?" I'd never done swimming before, but you get the rehearsals you need at the Olympic trials. And then to make a long story short, Michael Phelps wins 8 gold medals. And it may be the most thrilling week I've ever spent in the industry.
So do you have a favorite project you worked on, Drew, or was that it, or was there something else?
It's Mayor, you know what it is? The favorite project I'm worked on is the one I'm doing currently. I used to be, a season to season thing. So when football would end, I was excited for college basketball. And was fortunate enough both at ESPN and ABC to work a lot of college basketball, a lot of it with Dick Vitale, a lot of it was with Bill Raftery. And it was just, we'd go down to Duke to do a regular season game between Duke and Carolina. On that Saturday, that was the Super Bowl.
Well, Dick Vitale and Rafferty, they're a couple of Jersey boys.
They are, I know, and no more fun people to work with than Raf and Dickie V. So it really is, what season it is. If somebody asked me to pick out 2 or 3 of the best, and this is in no particular order, it would be that Super Bowl in Tampa that I talked about a few minutes ago between Arizona and Pittsburgh. James Harrison returns an interception 100 yards to end the first half. And then Roethlisberger hits Santonio Holmes in the corner of the end zone to win the game. It would be the week in Beijing for the swimming when Michael Phelps won 8 gold medals. And it would probably be the 2015 Belmont when American Pharoah won the Triple Crown. And it was the first time a Triple Crown had been won since the 70s. So those are 3 that stand out. But if somebody jarred my memory and said, don't you remember this game? I would say, oh, yeah, that belongs in the same category as well. So, the 5 Super Bowls we've had at NBC have all been amazing games. I talked about the first one. We had Mario Manningham's catch along the sideline. Giants go on to win the Patriots. We had Malcolm Butler's interception against Tom Brady. For the Patriots against Russell Wilson. We had the Philly special, and now we just had Cincinnati and the Rams, which was an amazing game as well. It doesn't have the defining plays that the other ones did, but was a great game nonetheless.
Hey, Drew, the preparation for a Super Bowl that runs maybe 3-4 hours, and the preparation for Belmont, which is 3 or 4 minutes. What's the difference in your schedule? What do you do? What's the difference?
Yeah, I'm just going to equate the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl sort of replicates any other week of getting ready for a Sunday night football game, except you have a half-hour pregame show you have to deal with. So it's going to practices, it's watching film, it's doing your coaches meetings, it's doing your player meetings, it's having your internal meetings, which are an editorial meeting. We sit down as a group and watch the entire graphics tape, so on and so forth. And then you do a football game. The horse racing, whether it's the Derby, the Preakness, or the Belmont, is a couple-minute race surrounded by a 4-hour show. So it's reporters all over the place. So you're really more of a studio style scripted show, except when the race breaks out. John Madden used to always say when we'd go through all these meetings, he'd go, "Hey guys, you can go through all this paperwork you want. Eventually a game's going to break out." Well, eventually the horses make their way to the starting gate and a race breaks out, but they're very different.
So, Drew, do you have a favorite sports team?
Yeah. Well, my sister, who's older than me, lives in Parsippany, still in the same house she's lived in her whole married life. She started dating my brother-in-law when I was 7. Unfortunately, he had season tickets to the Jets, high in the end zone at Shea Stadium. So I'm a diehard Jet fan. So I'm the unusual Jet Yankee fan. And of course, I love the Knicks and the Rangers as well.
I have some brother-in-laws who are Jet Yankee fans, by the way. So it's they suffer a little bit with the Jets. Yeah. So football's over. Do you work on a project now, Drew, or you take a break for a while?
We spend about a week after the football season to get all of our Emmy presentations edited and uploaded to the Academy's website. And then eventually, most of us volunteer to be judges. You're not allowed to judge any category that you have an entry in. But within the next week or two, we get a link to, spend some time judging. And then I'll get ready to, I'll start getting ready for the horse racing.
So as a guy that watches a lot of the stuff you're producing, you've met a lot of different legends, and you've named some of them. I use the word legends because in my mind, I've never met these folks, and that's what they are to me and my friends. Who's the most interesting or the easiest? What's your thought process there?
Well, I mean,
Or the most memorable?
the most memorable. Obviously, to me, I've always enjoyed working with the legends that I have grown up admiring. But if you talk about, people outside of the sports world, like in the last month, I met Snoop and Eminem. So, not my genre of music, but both really good guys. But, if you meet somebody, it's sort of by happenstance. Somebody walks into a restaurant, Al may know the person, so on and so forth. But it's not like, it's not like being part of the Hollywood community.
Okay. So Drew, Todd Bowles was a former student of yours, according to my notes.
He was.
He has spent some time here in Elizabeth, and we named a field after him. What was he like as a student?
Well, he was awesome. Obviously, I remembered him because, before school, we'd go down sometimes to the gym and play basketball, and you could remember the Todd Bowleses and the Rodney Carters. And when I met Todd as a coach, I went up to him and he sort of looked at me like I was nuts. But then I started naming all the other kids in his class, and then he had a faint recollection. Now we make a point of getting together every time we're at a Bucks practice, or prior to that, whatever team he happened to be with, whether it was, the Cardinals or the Jets or so on and so forth. He is a delightful person who's very well respected throughout the NFL coaching community. And I know he's going to get another chance to be a head coach really soon.
Well, he was so gracious with his time here when he was coaching the Jets. He came to Elizabeth, brought some players. We named a new field after him, and he was a gentleman in the times that I met him. And Darren knows him too.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's right around Darren's age. He is, went to Temple, undrafted free agent, ends up being, a really good NFL player, and he's just awesome. He's a great dude.
So, Drew, tell us as we're wrapping up. Do you have words of encouragement, or how do people get started in your business? Obviously, your perseverance led you to this role of success. How do you tell a young person to persevere the way you did, especially in society today with so many challenges?
Yeah, it's the business is changing. The digital platforms are becoming more and more popular, but the basic way the industry is going to be presented, I think, will stay fairly similar. Learn how to write, learn how to be a good researcher, and understand this: if you're looking for a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 gig, it's not for you. Okay, you're going to wake up. I can't tell you how many times I've woken up on Christmas morning in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or Jacksonville, but that's part of the deal for coming home from work happy every day. There's never been a bad day. There's been frustrating days of work, but there's never been a bad day at work. And I've enjoyed it. I know the time and the years are coming to a close. I hope it's not right around the corner, but I know it's not in the too distant future. But if you want to have a career where you look forward to getting up and going to work, you stick with it, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, Drew, there's an old saying for us old-time golfers, we're on the back nine, we just don't know what hole.
17 fairway, or probably 17 rough. If you're spraying it a little bit off the tee, 17 rough.
Hey, Drew, I really want to thank you for taking the time to join us. I wish you could have been here. We met you in person and walked you through the school again. We were planning on doing that.
Yeah, well, I'll just come down whenever the weather clears. I'll just come down and we'll make a meeting of it and go out to lunch and take a tour of the school.
Great. For Drew Esikoff, I'm Chris Bollwage. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.